And welcome to round number 3 of the Formula Racing League Late Night World Tour 2. Round number 3 at Paul Ricard, and what a treat we have for you today. Just look at how tight that grid is today. A bumper grid for round number 3, a third of the way through the season after this particular event. And look at the top 5, with Eresh obviously leading ahead of Aruda, Sharp, Ferreira and Brush Tully, all within, as Paul Vidler goes to the lead straight away, all within 3/10 of a second. It promises to be a fantastically close race, I am sure. I'm Jack Prentice, ready to take you through it, and we've got 1 minute of the World Cup of sim racing practice left to go. So we'll take you through the details and exactly what and who these drivers are representing tonight as we go into a 15-minute qualifying session to determine the grid. With a 2-minute lap, you're only going to get 3 or 4 goes at best to set your best lap. So every driver you can see is not only racing for themselves, but they are representing the pride of a nation, with only one driver eligible to score points for any, or for the nation that they score, or for the nation that they represent. So, for example, were Paul Vidler to finish first and Adam Sharp in the Honda there for Team England that you can't quite see there, were they to finish 1 and 2, only Vidler would score for England, but they do also have their own individual championship, and at the moment both of them are led by the German machine that is Eresh in the Ford Mustang, who has 2 victories from 2. One of them fairly easy last time out at Zandvoort last week, with Michael and Brush Tully proving a bit of a cork in the bottle for Adam Sharp of Team England. And the other at Austria, a classic 45-minute battle between himself and between the returning, where is he? He's Josh Clayton. He's gone a little bit further back. There he is in the Aston Martin, driving for Mozambique with his teammate Trevor Mendes for Team McLaren. So plenty of subplots here with Team Portugal bolstered by the double presence of Fernando Ferreira and Rafael Aruda, for example, with Michael and Brush Tully second last time out, having started third in 6th position as practice ends. We'll go through the drivers, the runners and riders in just a short second whilst the formation laps begin, and we'll start with the championship leader as and when qualifying begins. So 2 minutes ago before that happens, you can see a couple of new teams as well. Team Ecuador represented for the first time, Team France represented for the first time this season, and the Netherlands also represented for the first time this season with Marcel Basler just out there for his first laps. Regular on the Sunday scene, Basler giving it a real go this season for the final 7 rounds that will take you all the way to Christmas. 24 runners and riders now as Basler goes 13th, 1.1 seconds covering the top 13, by the way. It's very rare that you get that in sim racing nowadays. So we'll just load up the championship standings for you, and the championship entrance for you now as qualifying is underway with 10 minutes to get out and away. So you've got Michael and Brush Tully in the Porsche out straight away ahead of David Fars. I think that is just behind as we go through the first corner. Very tricky track this, very tight, twisted, technical, but as soon as you get out of turn 7, as we'll hopefully do so with Brush Tully of Canada, but an excellent start. They had an excellent race last time out. Strategy to leapfrog Adam Sharp in the Team England Honda and stay ahead. He did. The Canadian very impressive in his defence at Zandvoort, but Paul Ricard a much easier track to overtake on. So I do wonder if a slightly different strategy may be required. So it's time to meet your runners and riders, and we're going to start with Team Germany as and when Team Grid loads itself up. Team Germany, which is Eresh there, and it was Basler when he's joined the Netherlands, of course. So we're going to go to Eresh, who's in the Ford Mustang, all the way down here with Andrew Eden, new driver, new signing up for Team Switzerland in the Lexus. Gordon Brown, meanwhile, driving for Italy, along with Serafino Gabino. Those two making an effective pairing so far. Solid but not spectacular with Gareth Harvey and Darren Mark Davies driving for Team Wales. Andrew Tulloch is the sole representative for Team Scotland in the Aston Martin, with Josh Clayton and Trevor Mendes a two-pronged attack for Team Mozambique. Christian Geller represents Hungary on his own, and a fine job he's been doing so far, regular just outside the top 10, with Adam Sharp and Paul Vidler aforementioned driving for England. Expect that pairing to be very strong, and if they can get it together and work together as a team, then I expect many good things indeed. As we watch the first drivers come around the final corner now, trying to get their gaps. And how is this going to go? Luke Prentice and Jack Barnett, new to the championship. Jack Barnett representing Team New Zealand, so watch out for the All Black Aston Martins there for the pair of them, with Stero Caruana representing Malta, although he is disqualified from this championship. Fernando Ferreira and Rafael Arruda representing Portugal, as we mentioned earlier on, and David Fass representing Team Belgium. Richie Serra, the Spaniard, is representing Team Monaco. Had a bit of bad luck, Serra, on both occasions with disconnection in Austria first time out, and then a couple of incidents last time out at Zandvoort. We've got Darren Mark Davies, as we've already mentioned, driving for Team Wales. But Jochen Vereth, the Belgian, back in the championship, returning after a couple of seasons away. He is now driving for Team Ecuador, with, I think that's all of the drivers have been gone through, apart from Chris Gebman in the Team Uganda Porsche, and Marco Brustoli driving for Canada, as we can see now, with Fabio Niggio yet to appear for Team Venezuela, and Jamie Christie driving for Team Angola in the McLaren. We expect good things from him. Giovanni Bavazza is the next and final representative for Team France. First time out. Michael Brustoli now. What can he do on his first go? He's got himself a bit of a gap as well to the 911 Porsche, which is 911 Lamborghini, which is Fernando Ferreira just ahead on his outlap, as Brustoli very much the first driver out and about on this tight and technical Paul Ricard. So many times where you have to have a very late apex, very good testing track, doesn't always lend itself to great racing. With the chicane taken out that they have normally for Formula 1, it does mean that you get some fantastic side-by-side action at the end of that near mile-long Mistral Straight, going into the very fast turn 8. Brustoli now across the line for the first time. Where's this going to put him as a starter? And he crossed the line 154.6, a good banker lap so far there for the Canadian. I think they'll have him fairly high up anyway, to be honest with you, with Jamie Christie of Team Angola in the 1-for-1 McLaren, ahead only by 0.2 of a second. Eresh and Giovanni Bavazza crossing the line. Now Eresh just ahead of Luke Prentice in the all black Aston Martin drive for Team New Zealand, with Bavazza, I think, 3.8 seconds off the pace with Serafino Gabino. A bit of a trial by fire for Bavazza there, with arguably the quickest driver in the league following him around, which is Serra for Team Monaco, now across the line, 1.7 seconds off the pace. Car number 12 goes up into third place. That is Marcel Basler. Car number 4 now across the line to start a lap time with car 187. That is David Fast, 2.5 seconds off the pace. We've got car number 8. That is Jochen Vereth, the Belgian Ecuadorian. Where does this go for the returnees? 6th for the moment, 1.5 seconds off, just ahead of Gabino of Team Italy, with car number 13 coming across to start the lap, as well as number 17. So we're going to go to car 202. Rafael Arruda across the line for the first time start lap. Plenty of blue flags cars there, as Andrew Eden, Team Switzerland, as you can see with the Swiss flag adorning the Lexus there. That should be very quick indeed down the straight, going up into 5th with Adam Sharp now crossing the line. Blue Mosquito, who otherwise known as Andrew Tulloch, the Team Scotland, coming across the line in car number 65 for the Aston Martin, and it is a good banker, 7th place so far for the Flying Scotsman. That's Brustoli, I think, leaving the track, or coming back out already. And the last one across the line of those that left the pits is Fernando Ferreira for Team Portugal. And where does this put him? 5th place, half a second off. And that is a banker that he could be rightly pleased with. Now, I think that's car 10, that's Paul Vidler now across the line, having changed out of his bright green Ferrari from last week. Where is this going to go once again? Well, no, he's just starting his lap time. Of course he is. As Jamie Christie there, 7th, second at one point, wasn't he? That's no further improvement there. Same can be said for Eris. I think a couple of those drivers having gotten involved with Barbazza earlier on, I think, as he remains 14th. And who's that's gone into the top 7? It is Josh Clayton of Mozambique, back after a break last week, and I expect good things from him. Chris Gebman, meanwhile, across the line with no significant improvement there as far as I can see. So, a couple of drivers now coming back across. We've got car number 4, which is Gareth Harvey, who, as soon as I'm trying to go to him, he is in P11 for Team Wales. And I think next over is Jack Barnett in the car 13 Aston Martin. Been a bit of trial by fire for him as well. A debut is across 2 or 3 formats this season, but he's acquitted himself well. The New Zealand driver, with leading on the experience of Luke Prentice early on. He's just starting his lap time with, I think, Aruda back towards the sharp end in the Aston Martin. I think he's gone 4th place, the Portuguese driver, with car 37. I think is where we're next going to go. That is Adam Sharp, and he is still second bottom at the moment, but not for much longer. 3rd place he goes, and the Honda capricious last time out at Zandvoort, but a little bit more of an easier car to drive, I think, this time around, with that straight line speed affected. Not great in terms of top end, but good acceleration. I expect that he'll be a bit happier this time around. Andrew Tulloch goes back up into 10th place, having dropped very briefly for Team Scotland, with Bruce Tully across the line to start a lap time. And Ferreira just coming across the line as well. Was 7th, remains 7th at this moment in time with car number 10. That is Paul Vidler. Expecting better things from him so far. Where's that going to go? It's not going to go very high, is it? He's only got 2 minutes to go and set his lap time. I think Paul Vidler will be starting from the back, which is a bit of a rarity in itself. Is he? Well, he's going to leave the pits, but he's going to leave the pits with seconds to go. Don't get in anybody's way, Paul, because I don't think you're going to make it. You've got to make sure that you stay within the track limits when you come back around. We'll be watching you, Paul. Don't worry about that. Car 79 is Chris Gebben across the line for Team Uganda, and it remains 24th place for the Scotsman, the honorary Ugandan, I think it's fair to say, with Gareth Harvey back up to 11th for Team Wales. Now, car number 8 is where we're going to go next, because that's Jakob Verin. 1.8 seconds off the pace isn't usually bad enough to find you 17th, but it is in this close and competitive league. Where is Verin going to go with this effort? He needs to find a couple of tenths, and he's up the grid quite a bit, but he doesn't find anything there at all, as Aruda goes up into 2nd place for the Portuguese driver, with Gordon Brown for Team Italy. Not mentioned him so far this qualifying session. He's up into 13th. Marcel Basler is up into 5th there, so good driver for Team Netherlands. And Andrew In back up into 6th place. Car 65 is where we're going to go next, and that is Andrew Tulloch in the bright blue Aston Martin for Team Scotland. Needs to find a couple of tenths and he can really rock it up, but doesn't find that so far. Going to Marklin Brush Tully now in the 7th place so far. I expected a bit better after that excellent opening gambit, but where's this going to go? It is better, a lot better. 2nd place for the Canadian. Really started to come into his own this season, so that's going to be a front row start for the Porsche, and could be pivotal going into turn number 1 with the traction that car has. Tulloch, meanwhile, has returned to the pits, and that is Fernando Ferreira not improving. So car 404, Aresh, might need to stretch that gap just a bit. He's got a couple of goes at it with, I think, that is Christie behind him. So yeah, no improvement there for Aresh, but Jamie Christie, where does he remain? He remains in 12th position, with Aruda back up into 3rd place. And I think Luke Prentice is going to end his time in 4th. Chris Gebman next across the line for... No, that's Keller. He's going to be in 16th with, I think, Chris Gebman now next across the line. Needs to find something here. Just needs a legal lap time. Does get a legal lap time. No, he doesn't. He remains bottom of the pile for Team Uganda. Car number 4 next across the line. That's Gareth Harvey. He's going to go up into 11th with car 488, Ritu Serra for Team Monaco coming into the pit lane now. So a couple of drivers starting to fall by the wayside. Where's car 202? Because he's next over. I think Aruda could be a threat for pole in the Aston Martin. He's had to get past a couple of cars, but is this going to take pole position? Tries to go for the shortest line across. Does not do anything more with that lap. Andrew Eden, meanwhile, has just caught a Lamborghini. Is that going to affect or hinder? It's going to help, but it's not going to help him improve up the order. He stays 8th, but a better 8th. Trevor Mendes, meanwhile, I haven't mentioned him at all, but that is another impressive effort for the Team Mozambique. He's up into 10th place, backing up his teammate Josh Clayton. To the worst happened there. So Mozambique again, as they have done really for the entire season, looking pretty good. Aresh, meanwhile, I don't think he knows that he doesn't have to set this lap time, but we're going to follow him around anyway because he's going to be your pole sitter for Team Germany, as so often has been the case. Go around the final couple of bends at Village, going into the final corner of Roche de Pont. And where's this going to be? Well, it's going to be pole for the German, but how far are we going to go? We're not going to go because he's going to practice his pit entry instead. So sensible driving there from the German as I think that Jamie Christie comes to a stop at the final corner. I think the last one across the line is kind of a 10, which was, where was that? That was Paul Vidler was coming across the line, but I don't think he was able to get time. He was indeed. He was able to get up into 9th place, had to do it. So Team England, they're at the death, striking with their second car. Paul Vidler with an important contribution there, because not only does that improve England's chances should anything happen to Adam Sharp, and the Honda's not got a great history with that car around this track, but Ferreira in 10th is going to be starting a little bit further back. So quick drivers such as Ferreira, Mendes, Tulloch of Team Scotland, he's been a bit quicker than that so far this season. So I think there's going to be more to come from the Aston Martin. And Harvey, who's been, especially in Austria, the first round, wasn't it, at the Red Bull Ring? Very impressive indeed. So we've got 2 podium finishes starting 12th and 13th. And Gordon Brown of Team Italy, usually so at one with that car, starting in 15th. But look at how tight it is. I said at the start of the stream that we would be tight in the top 16, covered by 1.1 seconds less than. So we'll take you through the grid as it is at the moment, as we will for the start of the race. It's Eresh on pole for Team Germany, with Team Canada represented on the front row by Marcolin Brustulli. Portugal represented on row number 2 by Rafael Aruda, ahead of Adam Sharp of Team England, doing well to drag a time out of that Honda around this track. Marcel Basler, on his return to the championship for Team Netherlands, is in 5th position, ahead of Josh Clayton for Team Mozambique, returning after a week away last time out. Luke Prentice, 7th place for Team New Zealand, slightly better than his previous qualifying effort to be, ahead of Andrew Eden of Team Switzerland. That Lexus could be a real threat on lap number 1 down that straight. Paul Vidler, a 9th place, a save really for Paul Vidler for Team England, and Portugal's second car, Fernando Ferreira, in 10th position, only 8/10 off the pace. Trevor Mendes for Team Mozambique starts 11th, ahead of Andrew Tulloch for Team Scotland, with Gareth Harvey 13th for Team Wales. Jamie Christie is 14th for Angola, ahead of Gordon Brown in 15th for Team Italy. Richie Serra in 16th for Monaco, as head of Christian Keller, 17th. Didn't do a lot wrong, did Christian Keller, but 17th is where he is because of the depth of the grid that we have tonight. David Farrs, 18th, so impressive. A couple of Sundays ago, won the feature race, won the longer race in the AM for Class 4. I think it was on Sunday, wasn't it? So it would have been the Sunday Sprint Championship. 18th place is where we find him. Again, less than 2 seconds off the pace, ahead of Joachim Vereth. Again, less than 2 seconds off the pace for Team Ecuador. Serafino Gavino is 20th for Team Italy, ahead of James Barnett in 21st for Team New Zealand, and Giovanni Bavazza for Team France on his debut in the championship. Samuel Davis will start in 23rd on the back row alongside Chris Gebman, the Uganda and Formula Racing League stalwart. Okay, so we've got a 45-minute race here. There is a pit window, but it's a fairly early pit window just in case there's any damage. You don't have to take tyres, but you do have a fixed refuelling time of 25 seconds. So you can gain yourself an extra 5 seconds if you want to maybe, see if you can hold a couple of drivers up, or see if you can jump a couple of drivers if you're in traffic. If you want to change tyres, you'll cost yourself 5 seconds, but you'll be a lot quicker towards the end of the race. We've got 90 seconds to go, so it gives me enough time to plug a couple of our benefits for Formula Racing League. So Formula Racing League has a Patreon service, so you pay £4 a month. £4 a month for anything really that Chris Gebman can do, in terms of he can not only make some nice, funny call signs for you or profile pictures for you, but he can do anything you ask him, really. He's a bit of a court jester, although don't tell him I've been advertising his services. The important stuff it can also get you is your own car number and early access to any championships that we've got. Now, that would be, certainly from the ACC version, that would be Taco Tuesdays, which is our flagship show from 8:30 on Tuesday nights. 2 tiers, often filled with up to 40 cars a go. So really recommend that if you haven't already. We've also got the SimNet Sunday Racing League, the Super Sprint Sunday which is one short race of 20 minutes and one longer race of 45 minutes. Again, really recommend, if you haven't already, giving that a go. And it's all for the price of half a Big Mac or a coffee. And it's a lot healthier for you, so certainly worth a go. Besides that, you've got, I think, LMU on PC. You've got some ACC also on PC as well, with a couple of mods on there. And the WRC Championship, I believe, is also making its return on Wednesday night. So again, really do recommend that you check all of that out for £4 a month. Come on, guys. It's worth doing. Right, we are now getting to the start of the race with Eresh around the side at this moment. So I'm leading the cars away ahead of Brushtilly of Canada, Aruda of Portugal in third, ahead of Adam Sharp. We're about to go around the final corner before a short, sharp burst to the finish line where we will get underway. There's Eric now trying to pick his moment, trying to see if he can get as much of an advantage as possible over Brushtilly. The Porsche very quick off the start, but he's going to have to go the long way around the outside in what is a really tough first one. And it's go, go, go. We are green racing underway, and that is a good start for Marco Brushtilly, caught napping a little bit, but the Porsche traction wins out. Eresh has had to slot in behind in the Ford Mustang, and that's important there for Team Canada. Really good start last time out, even better this time around. Aruda has been passed, I think, by Adam Sharp, so the even numbers getting away rather well there. Marcel Basler, I think, has also made a little bit of progress, though he's gone behind, I think. He's under attack from Team New Zealand. Josh Clayton, I think, is also battling away with Luke Prentice for 6th position. Further moves at the back, I think, include Team Wales, which Gareth Harvey has got past Andrew Tulloch, I think. Andrew Eden dropped to 9th position. Disastrous start for Team Switzerland. We picked him out as a potential mover and shaker. But we're going to go on to the B-Strath straight for the first time. And I think the Ford Mustang with the superior grunt is going to have a run at Brushtilly. Brushtilly's time in the sun might be short-lived. He's going to have to go to the inside now for the infamous fast right-hander, but I think it's not going to go well because they're going to go door-banging already down the straight. Is there more door-banging? I think there is. Brushtilly there and Eresh not giving an inch. Is that net code? I hope it is for their sake, but Eresh going around the outside. Is he off the track? No, he isn't. He's within track limits and he takes the lead. Excellent move there from Eresh to get back in the lead, having lost it on the run to the first corner. And Brushtilly again staring at the back of the Ford Mustang as he was previously. I think Rafael Aruda has also got past Adam Sharp. So the drivers that started pole and third are now back in pole and third, with Basler still holding off the attentions of Luke Prentice. Josh Clayton dropping back into 7th place for Team Mozambique, and Andrew Eden back into 8th ahead of Paul Vidler. Paul Vidler's time in 8th place not lasting very long at all, with Gareth Harvey, I think, not very far behind at all, as I think Vidler's having another look there. Has another look to the inside, and I think further contact there with Gareth Harvey, who has allowed Tulloch to come around the outside. Andrew Tulloch there with an opportunist move, now going side by side with the Aston Martin, his fellow Aston Martin team. Well, who's that in the pits? I think Paul Vidler has got into the pits because there was a bit of contact, a little bit of damage. Jamie Christie as well got to catch 40 winks after his early start at the back. I think he's in the pit lane now with some damage to the rear end. I had noticed that Christian Keller and Joachim Bereth have moved up from 19th, I think, and 17th respectively, with Chris Gebman there doing rather well to get himself up 10 positions for Team Uganda. So there's been a few movers to chase at the back, with Sarah dropping back again for Team Monaco. So further dramas there for the Spaniard and the honorary Monegasque. We're going to go to the front now because Eresh stretching his lead ever so slightly ahead of Brushtilly on lap number 2. Half a second it was. I reckon it's going to be a fair bit more because the Porsche, the one thing it does lack is top-end speed. We're going to see exactly how much that slipstream is giving an advantage to him. He's started to catch a little bit more than I thought, actually. It remains half a second. Aruda dropping 1.2 seconds back and under attack from Adam Sharp down the inside. Is he going to try the same trick that Eresh did? No, not quite, with Luke Prentice now having a look at the back for 4th position. Basler, meanwhile, has dropped back to 6th. And Luke Prentice again on the charge on the early laps and in the early minutes, as he so often is. Basler looking at the back of Team New Zealand, that all-black car. You can't really miss it, can you, with Josh Clayton now in close attention. But he's got Andrew Eden behind him by a quarter of a second, at least it was. But the Lexus its arch enemy in the form of the 2nd sector and 3rd sector around here, because whilst it can go down the straights in rather quick fashion, unfortunately it cannot corner. Gordon Brown, I think, caught up in the melee at the start there with Vidler, Christie and Brown all having pitted, and Gordon Brown only just coming out of the pits in front of the lead duo, which is now Eresh by 1 second ahead of Markel and Brush-Tully. The Ruda now 0.6 seconds back, so Brush-Tully might be looking rearwards rather than frontwards here. So Gordon Brown now, where is he? Well, he's 24th, so he's last. David Fast has also pitted. He's now coming into the pits from 21st. So again, the Belgian running into difficulties early on in the race. Chris Gedman up into 14th. Fernando Ferreira dropping to 14th from, well, where was he? He was 11th, 12th with the grip, wasn't he? So, yeah, disastrous again for the Portuguese. Not had an awful lot of fortune on the first lap, ever since Austria, where obviously he got involved in the incident with Adam Sharp, and then at Zandvoort, nothing really went his way. It's Marcel Basler with the fastest lap so far, and he's going to give Luke Prentice a little bit of jip, isn't he, down the Mistral straight, nearly 1 mile in length, I remind you, in terms of your acceleration zone through turn number 7. The Ferrari gaining, the Aston Martin might just have to get on the defensive. They're quarter of a second then, no, not quite. Basler wisely tucking in behind, because you have to dip down a couple of gears and then try and see if you can slingshot going into what I call the Leclerc corner at turn number 9. So difficult here. You can launch it down the inside at the second apex if you're feeling brave, but you have to have a willing dance partner, and Luke Prentice is many things, but a willing dance partner when he's being overtaken is usually not one of them. Basler, 1 second behind in the Ferrari though. The Dutch representative, the German in real life, is certainly causing an issue for the top 6 here, and it's a return to 4 for Mr. Basler. So we're going to go to the lead now with, I think it is now starting to be a bit Noah's Ark, because I think Rafael Arruda, has he got past? No, that's Gordon Brown, isn't it, in the Lamborghini. Got a few blue flags coming his way with Brush-Tully, Arruda and Sharp all within a second of each other behind the Lamborghini, who's had no luck at all really at the start of this season, and that's carrying on here today with Arruda now looking backwards as well as he is forward. Brush-Tully going down the inside, making a little bit of contact there with Brown. I'm not sure that the Scotsman will appreciate that. Obviously, a quarter Italian, Gordon Brown Donio, and unfortunately he is impeding Adam Sharp just a little bit in the Honda there. Nothing much that he could have done, and Luke Prentice now going down the inside. Hope there's no contact there, because a rather frustrated Gordon Brown there being shuffled back as he goes to the inside. Is he of Gordon Brown? I think there's contact there actually between him and Marcel Basler. That won't please any of the viewing public with decision to adjudicate that, so we've got to be a bit careful. But I understand obviously if you are being you've not only had your race ruined on lap number 1, but then you've been shuffled back by drivers you thought you were going to be competing with and racing with after just 7 minutes. So I did get it. Brush-Tully 3.5 seconds back from the lead, so I think Eresh is going to do business as usual. We'll save that glancing look at the leader there, because you won't see him very often with, I think, Jamie Christie, who is around at leisurely pace. Hope he's not caught napping by any drivers so far, although he is second bottom, so it would suggest that something's gone all right. He's had a nightmare start as opposed to the start of his dreams. 3.5 seconds ahead of Brush-Tully we find Eresh, the white Ford Mustang, and I'll say that because you'll remember what he looks like when we cut into him in about 18 minutes time. Here's Brush-Tully just ahead now of Arruda of Team Portugal, the winner of the Taco Tuesday series last season. It's not been quite the same majestic run for the Portuguese driver, although going up from silver to pro and then winning that first time out is nothing to be sniffed at. Adam Sharp, meanwhile, an experienced campaigner for Team England, having a look here at Arruda in the Aston Martin. Luke Prentice, meanwhile, just about 7/10 of a second, yep, 3/4 of a second back. And he's still got Basler giving him some jip, with the top 6 looking fairly set in stone as Adam Sharp now goes for a move down the inside of Arruda. Doesn't quite manage to make it stick on this occasion, but if he can get a slingshot out of here, Arruda does go on a slightly tighter line for turn number 6, and the Honda, if he can get the power down, might have a bit of a run. That's such a long right-hander that actually it might favour the Aston Martin, but the Honda looking a little bit more aggressive in its body language. Right in the slipstream we go. I think it's going to have a move down into turn number 8. The Honda now going to the inside. He's going to transit on the inside. Aruda haven't gone to the outside that far, so side by side they go. Team England versus Team Portugal. I think this might be a move for third position. Adam Sharp now down the inside. They're level pegging neck and neck. He's got the high ground, but the Aston Martin has the grunt and has the turn in going into turn number 8. Luke Prentice now looking very interested in fourth for Team New Zealand. Goes down the inside. Is he going to keep a tighter line? He might well do. It's something the Aston Martin can do really well. Down the inside he goes for Team New Zealand, and what was going to be a potential third place for England and Adam Sharp is now fifth position, and he's down the inside again because I think that is that Aruda? Aruda's gone off. So this is actually still going to be third position. Prentice and Sharp running each other helter-skelter. Wide they go. And going into the penultimate corner, Adam Sharp eventually takes third position. Bit of an unorthodox way because Aruda, we were just praising earlier on, as Basler goes down the inside of Luke Prentice. Prentice shuts the door on the German Netherlands representative. So Aruda, don't know where it happened, to be honest, because it looked like he had the high ground, looked like he had to turn in going into turn number 8, but he drops to 6th place, and it's going to get worse because the Lexus trying to out-drag the Aston Martin going into turn number 1. And Andrew Eden now up into 6th place for Team Switzerland. So disastrous really for Team Portugal. What was third place is now 7th and could be 8th because Josh Clayton now having to go down the inside. Although he's going to make it 3 wide, is he, Aruda? Is he? No, not quite. He's going to tuck it behind because Basler getting involved there with Andrew Eden. So Basler's going to drop to 6th. Is it going to be 7th? Because Aruda goes down the inside with Josh Clayton now following it for Team Mozambique. He's not going to make it through there, although Basler's still getting it wrong and has dropped back, I think, to 6th place with Aruda. They're managing to capitalise, at least salvage something from the train wreck that's been the last lap and a half, although Basler's going to go back down the inside. He's got a bit of a queue behind him as well because Clayton, Harvey and Andrew Tulloch of Team Scotland, 4 Aston Martins in a row, and a Ferrari. There's a joke in there somewhere. The Ferrari's going to go down to the inside with Clayton going around the outside. Is he? No, he's going to go back down the inside. He's going to have a run at Aruda. It's going to end in tears, isn't it? Down the inside they go. Aruda goes wide again. Don't want to be doing that too many times. With, I think, Harvey boxed in behind. Is Tulloch going to have a go down the inside? We're going to have a look there for Team Scotland. 9th position we go. Josh Clayton still having a go, and Aruda still sticking it around the outside. Tulloch's going to go down to the inside for potentially what is P8, but Clayton going around the outside. Side by side they go. They're still going to run to the penultimate corner. I think he might just have it because of the way the track goes, although Aruda might still fancy a run up the inside. He does, but Clayton holds on, and that is 7th place. And a disastrous lap has just got worse for Rafael Aruda there, as he's now going to do battle with... No, he is, because he's going to come into the pits. Gareth Harvey was in attendance there as Jamie Christie of Team Angola. Might just need to get out of the way, but Gareth Harvey might now be battling once again with his old nemesis, Andrew Tulloch. Tulloch goes down the inside and takes a very clean 8th position for the moment, although he doesn't because Harvey hangs it around the outside. Me and my big mouth, Harvey hanging it around the outside and takes 8th place again with Andrew Tulloch very briefly up into the top 8, but the Team Scotland driver's not going to take it lying down because it's going to go around the outside once again, and they fall in, and we can all take a breather and calm down, which the top 4 have done to their credit, because Adam Sharp there 0.6 seconds off the back now, Mark Limbrush-Tully, and Luke Prentice is 1.5 off the back there as they start to space out following the Rafael Aruda sponsored chaos from the last couple of laps. Excellent racing, it must be said. All very clean, bar a couple of bumps and scrapes, but you're going to get that in racing. So excellent driving between them all. Christian Keller sneaking his way up into 10th place. He starts 17th, so this is a really good drive from the Team Hungary driver. No, some drivers are pitted, but not all of them. So good driving indeed from Christian Keller, with Chris Gebman now doing battle with Fernando Ferreira, I think, going down the straights. 0.27 seconds. The Porsche has the inside, but the Lamborghini has the pace, and there's a spin. I wonder if Ferreira might have turned in on Gebman there. Gebman has spun him back around again, to his credit. We'll have a look there. The camera angle there, pretty rubbish from our position, so the stewards might have a look at that as Ferreira had turned across. I think there's further problems than to Sarah for Team Monaco, again finding himself not where he needs to be. He's in 13th, but he's going to drop back, I think, to possibly 15th or 16th. Trevor Mendes up into 16th now for Team Mozambique, getting on with the job for the McLaren. It's not been a great start though for him, because he was up in the top 11 or 12 at the start of the race. Chris Gebman there with a slightly dog-eared Porsche now coming around to start. I think he's going to be 11th if Leslie's pissed. No, he's going to come into the pits as well, possibly fix that damage. And Team Uganda have a bit of a job on their hands to get it back out into a competitive position for the latter part of the race. While I said it was all calming down, didn't I? Up in second, Marklin Brush-Tully has been caught. The Canadian who was holding up Adam Sharp for long periods last time out at Zandvoort is doing likewise once again. The Honda with the bit between his teeth needs to get on with things, because he's got the ever opportunistic Luke Prentice, who was quite happy to go door banging earlier on but with Team England. He's not going to miss a chance to go again. The stablemates Prentice and Sharp, but that doesn't matter when it's the late night World Tour. Adam Sharp now down the Mistral straight, gaining on the Porsche. The Porsche pretty slow in a straight line, but I think the Honda isn't going to have enough, not yet anyway, to make the move down the inside at the end of the Mistral. Luke Prentice there hanging back by 9/10 of a second, and even in the Lexus there started to hold drivers Basler and Clayton up, although that's a bit unfair because there is a second between each of those three drivers. So Eden there doing a good job in the Lexus, which I was expected to struggle apart from Mistral straight. I was expecting Andrew Eden to have a lot of defending to do, and with it being P5 on the road at the moment, he's done rather well indeed. Fernando Ferreira is in the pits for Team Portugal. I think that's with the damage to his car as he starts to leave. And if you wouldn't send him down to the shops to buy your lottery tickets, would you? Because Ferreira has had no luck at all. Some of it was his fault at Austria, no doubt there, but since then it's just been a tale of woe. Most of it not of his own making. The Portuguese driver coming out in 22nd position behind Chris Gebman, who is a long way clear. Those two renewing foes and renewing rivalries a little bit earlier on. Meanwhile, Andrew Tulloch again fighting with Gareth Harvey, 1/10 between them, and that doesn't really look like the track, does it? Doesn't look like how you meant to drive that, Gareth. So we'll certainly stay with this, because this might get tasty with, I think, as well, a second helping if it's that Brown versus Christie behind. It is, I think. Yeah, Gordon Brown there. He's quite far back, isn't he? But I don't think he's far enough back to be a lap off of Jamie Christie, so we'll see how that goes. But we've got Tulloch versus Harvey. Tulloch versus Harvey down at the Mistral straight, both in Aston Martin, so I think this is going to be relatively safe and straightforward for Gareth Harvey in the Aston Martin, with Andrew Tulloch there. Well, Harvey trying to break the toe just a bit, but I don't think it's necessary, as Tulloch, he's not exactly eating in. Don't get me wrong, he looks a bit quicker down the straight, but he would in the toe, although Harvey is going defensive, so Tulloch might just have a run, and I might be forced to eat my words and re-engage. With Tulloch now going around the outside, no, not quite level enough, but around turn number 8, Tulloch takes the slightly wider line. Stewart's won't like that in terms of track limits, but I think that'll be okay there as he regathers himself and goes again. I say Stewards, obviously not the FRL stewards, they're reasonable people, but the ACC track limits fairies are less reasonable. Obviously, with, I think, certainly a bit more reasonable is the battle for second. Brush-Tully 9 seconds off the pace, so certainly reversing his way into the pack, with Adam Sharp and Luke Prentice there within 6/10 of a second. Previously, it might be slightly more, but he's starting to hold up, and he started to hold up with Andrew Eden now in the mix, and you don't want that if you're Luke Prentice of Team New Zealand, because Eden in the Lexus will eat anybody and anything for breakfast down the main straight, with Marcel Basler also being dragged along. Team Netherlands Dutch representative, the German obviously representing Holland, not going away, and he's certainly been about the top 8, hasn't he, all race long. But Mendes Meanwhile has pitted Team Mozambique, so he'll be rejoining with the rest of the field. Rafael Arruda meanwhile has come out well behind Paul Vidler. We can't forget Paul Vidler, because whilst he pitted after going bumper car racing at the final corner of the first lap, he is now 7 seconds ahead of what was a very rushed and ragged Rafael Arruda. But with the pit lane now, or pit time coming up now, if you want to change tyres, you think that actually Vidler might just be able to steal his way up into second or third, with especially the pace that Brustolli isn't showing as he's fighting rearwards. I think actually he might be a bet for the podium, but Mendes is going to come out, well, he's 15th at the moment, coming out about 20th or thereabouts, with Jochen Vereth now also have a bit of Team Ecuador and rejoining in 19th, as we see now Sharp 0.4 of a second behind Brustolli, and he attacked well last time out at Zandvoort, and when they did go wrong, he very sportingly gave the position back, which is what we all love to see in Formula Racing League, drivers holding their hands up. It's a staple of sim racing, but is he going to need to do that again? I would suspect that Lightning won't strike twice, with the Yorkshireman having a look down that side there, but not quite able to make the move on Marco Brustolli. Brustolli still hanging on though, and he's still going round. I wonder if Luke Prentice has decided to pit there, just about gets the speed down, and we'll see now whether Team New Zealand can jump England and Canada. It'll also be interesting to see exactly where he comes out in relation to Paul Vidler. We'll keep a look at that. Marcel Basler, meanwhile, it's very difficult if you're a Ferrari with not the best of top ends to try and get past that Lexus unless you fight him off the road. So, Marcel, how are you going to do it? Because Eden, from experience, is a driver very difficult to ruffle, very difficult to scare off the road, Andrew Eden, and a very good, solid driver who's got better and better and better as the season's progressed. So Basler now has a bit of a job on his hands, because half a second behind the Speedmobile that is the Lexus. It'll be interesting to see exactly how that is down the second sector B. It's actually going to come up about 3/4 of the way down this straight, so we'll see exactly whether the Dutch representative Team Netherlands can actually make inroads. Prentice has now been listed as having completed the stop, but it's a long pit lane. We'll see where he is regarding Paul Vidler a little bit later on, and yeah, Basler's dropped back by a 10th, actually going into turn number 8. Josh Clayton there waiting in the wings, as Andrew Tulloch now having another look at Gareth Harvey. Wonder if he might pit opposite to the Wales representative, Team Scotland man from the northeast of Scotland, who has been able to put together a really consistent season so far in the FRL, as he usually does, it must be said. Very rarely seen in trouble, and a safe pair of hands for Team Scotland, but he's not going to want to be a safe pair of hands for too much longer where Team Wales are concerned. So we'll have a little look here. Paul Vidler has got out ahead of Luke Prentice, but that back end still looking a little bit dog-eared. So I wonder if he got his pit stop out of the way and might be paying for it a little bit later on, because I would wager then that if he pitted that early and hasn't repaired damage, that he also hasn't taken tyres. 6.2 seconds the gap apparently between Vidler and Prentice. We're going to see what that looks like down the straight. Rafael Aruda 2.3 seconds back from Team New Zealand representative Luke Prentice, who 5.8 already for Team New Zealand. So Prentice there making hay while the sun shines. There's a few more drivers coming to the pits. Adam Sharp is in the pits, and we'll keep an eye on him, as Andrew Tulloch has pitted where Gareth Harvey hasn't pitted. So a little bit of kinology there from the two experienced England and Scotland representatives to see if they can get an undercut, as Sharp is now leaving the pits in the Honda. Looks like he's going to steal a bit of a march on Prentice. Mind you, it is a really long pit stop, as Marcel Basler as well looks like he has come into the pits. It doesn't look like he's 13th, whilst Sharp, it doesn't look like he's that far behind Sharp. Sharp leaving the pits now, as here comes Paul Vidler across the line. So Luke Prentice must have had a fairly slow stop in comparison. Adam Sharp might not have taken tyres, which is a bit of a risk in that Honda, where it might well have been a pretty slow stop for Prentice, who may have had a little bit of damage to fix when they went door banging a little bit earlier on. But Andrew Tulloch is out of the pits, and where is he in comparison to these? A long way back. So the time lost behind Gareth Harvey has held him back there a little bit longer, as we wait for all of these drivers to reconvene in the coming couple of laps. Marco Brustolli, meanwhile, must be pretty glad of a rest, mustn't he? Because he was getting a bit of a going over from Sharp, and latterly a little bit of Luke Prentice in there as well. Bob Batson, meanwhile, the debutant from Team France, has come into the pits, and a word for it, because it's a very difficult league to come in and make your debut, especially when it's mid-season. So the French representative, although 19th, doesn't look great, doing a good job so far in terms of making a debut. He's got, I think that's Marco Brustolli of Team Canada behind. The Canadian's going to have to be a bit careful, But Barbat, not the best place to get out of the way, but he does so effectively, doesn't bother the other driver. So good driving all round there, as Andrew Eden now also makes his move. Adam Sharp is 2.5 seconds clear of it. Luke Prentice, must have had a bit of damage to fix because he's back out behind Marcel Basler. Basler, who had been pretty quick in the Ferrari for Team Holland, has jumped Luke Prentice of Team New Zealand. So I suspect that whilst Prentice is getting to work on Vidley, you can see that because the gap's now about 5 seconds. I don't think he'll be too happy with how these pit stoppers, or how the pit stops have worked so far. We've got more drivers coming in as Brush continues to pound round we go in the Porsche. Let's see if maybe he can, I would suggest that any longer, and he's probably not going to be able to take tyres, so he's going to have to sort of commit really to a slightly different strategy. Andrew Eden is just behind in second position, 2 seconds off the pace, with Josh Clayton still in third at the moment. I think he's just going to lap Barbatza ahead. Oh, a bit of contact there. Where has Barbatza gone? And Barbatza has gone, I think, off the track. It was a little bit of it looked like he slowed down, the Frenchman. I think the Mozambique driver had to get out of the way pretty quickly. Serafino Gabino and Jay Barnett are in the pits along with Darren Mark Davies, the commentary OG team miles. He's coming out just behind Jay Barnett. So Chris Getman goes past now. Well, I think this could be a battle for the ages. Trevor Mendes is coming out behind. So a bit of a battle towards the lower end of the field. Erish has pitted and, as you would expect, is out in the lead. Adam Sharp, has I think he's retained second place because he's going to gain second place when this carries on, because unless Brushchilli doesn't take tyres, which worked at Zandvoort because he can't pass there, but might prove to be a bit more difficult for the Canadian this time around, I would suggest that actually he might find himself a little bit vulnerable later on. Oh, as off the road we go. Who's that? I think that's Paul Vidler. Is that Paul Vidler? It is Paul Vidler, and he is out of contention, certainly for the sharper end. I think Luke Prentice has gone past, Rafael Aruda has gone past as well, I think. So he's going to drop just ahead of Joachim Ferris of Team Ecuador, has gone about his business the right way, and he's also got past Andrew Tulloch, who has at least deposed Gareth Harvey. Gareth Harvey, who was, he's 14th now. I struggle to think that he'll be that much higher when this all shakes out. You might get Keller, you might get Sarah, but Harvey, a big loser there, as Adam Sharp has at least managed to get past his old nemesis from a couple of races ago in Austria. So Vereth there for Team Ecuador, running up in 12th position, as we'll see now. That's Paul Vidler. Paul Vidler, dropping back to 11th at this moment in time. Well, that'll be 10th with Christian Keller in Team Hungary, or in the pit lane for Team Hungary in the McLaren, just leaving the pits as we speak now. We can see now the top four, with Marcelin Brushchilli still leading for Team Canada in the Porsche. I suspect that he'll be going as long as he possibly can then on those tyres. Not going to bother changing them. Well, why would you when you're that far ahead? You might as well commit to just taking fuel as and when. The Porsche driver is pretty comfortable out there, as Andrew Eden is likewise in the Lexus. So these two are going to be going out towards the end. Josh Clayton, meanwhile, comes into the pits. Might just build a bit of a tyre offset. If he does elect to change those, we'll see how that pans out for him. Ritu Serra for Team Monaco is the last man out. As Barbatza of Team France is 2 laps down, but he hasn't yet stopped. So I think something's gone wrong there, and that maybe he hasn't taken fuel is the only thing I think. So he might end up with a disqualification there if there's a rules-based issue. David Fast, meanwhile, at the back of the grid for the moment for Team Belgium, but should get past Barbatza and get onto the back of Brown just ahead. Gordon Brown there 22nd. It's not been the best of races for him. Not, it must be said, his own fault if it looks like, or if it is as it looks like, as car 404 Eresh now comes across the line to take Sarah and Clayton. Clayton still having not stopped, although he's got the shortest run out, or having not completed the shot, but he's got the shortest run out of the pit lanes. Adam Sharp goes through to take second position, and Basler is in, he's a net third, isn't he? But he's got Luke Prentice now catching. He's 1.3 seconds back, the Aston Martin, and I suspect that this one still has a bit of legs in it. Aruda is in third position, and now we just wait for Brush-Tully to pit and see where this all shakes out. Basler 5 seconds off the back of Adam Sharp, whereas Luke Prentice is 1.3 seconds off the back there. So there's a gap for the Canadian to drop back into. I think he might have to be a bit clever on his tyre strategy and hope he can get to the end. With Aruda in 9th position now, British Sarah now is coming back out, so it'll be 8th once it all shakes out, as Aruda now goes through the first sector. Yes, it does. Vidler up into 9th as it stands at the moment. So good recovery from Paul Vidler. It will count towards his personal championship, if not Team England at this moment in time. I remind you that the drivers are all driving for a country, and whilst you can fight for your own individual championship to your heart's content, only the lead driver of any nation scores points. So you'll see a couple like Steve Angola, for example, with Jamie Christie, who's got himself back into contention. In Monaco, Ritu Serra and Christian Keller, they will always score points when they race because there's no other representatives. But someone like Team Wales, so Darren Mark Davis, for example, in 18th, won't be scoring points for Wales if Gareth Harvey remains 12th, is the best example I can give. So, Adarida now 2 seconds off the back of the Porsche Markel and Brush-Tully. Still 14 minutes to go of that pit window, so it's just a case of when they pit and when they think they'll be able to feed back in, because you've got to take into account tyre warm-up, and if you're coming out of the pits with tyres that are under pressures and not warm enough, you could be vulnerable, especially late on when drivers are feeling a little bit more gung-ho and carefree. Speaking of gung-ho and carefree, Luke Prentice only half a second off the back of Basler in the Team Netherlands Ferrari. I do wonder if Basler might have maybe elected not to take tyres, with Josh Clayton now in 7th position ahead of Aruda in 8th. Josh Clayton there having recovered somewhat for Team Mozambique to get into what is possibly going to be the top 6, depending on how Eden and Brush-Tully shake out, and obviously anything that might go on within the next quarter of an hour. Prentice there, half a second back. The Aston Martin just looking a little bit more direct in its turning. Certainly looks a little bit more pointy with the Ferrari, which does suffer from a little bit of big corner dead zone. Struggling a bit there. You can see the understeer there in the Ferrari of Basler, and I think it's going to come under attack here. Luke Prentice there is the driver that we're going to follow for the Team New Zealand Aston Martin. Now he's gaining. The Aston's got pretty decent straight line speed, so I suspect that he's going to have to go the long way round as Basler there moves to the inside. Prentice there going right to the back of him. Is he going to go around the outside? We can't see because of the way that the standings are, but Prentice does go to the outside. It's covered off by Basler, goes to the inside. Basler runs slightly wide. Don't know whether there was any contact there, but Prentice is going to have the inside for turn number 9. He's going to keep it loaded there for turn 10. Runs the Netherlands representative out wide, and that is P5 on track for the moment. He's going to have to cover off any attack from Basler, who won't take that line down, but I think the German driving for Team Holland has taken that, he's been able to accept that. I think that is an exception, that his race is run for what is currently P5. So Luke Prentice there, that was crucial that he got it done as quickly as he did, especially as Andrew Eden now starts to appears starting to catch Markel in Brush-Tully. So Brush-Tully might be struggling with a crisis in his pace at this moment in time, with Adam Sharp now it's safe, it would seem, in second place. I say second place, a net possibly second place, just depending on when Brush-Tully does decide to pit. And Luke Prentice now up into 5th position, having got past Marcel Basler with some great racing between the two, it looked like. Anyway, we don't know whether there was any contact, but Basler certainly running slightly wide, although he was moving himself over the place to try and defend from the New Zealand representative that is Luke Prentice. Prentice, who is not often a man that compromises in such situations if he's down the inside, and sometimes there, if you're going to turn yourself back in across on the Aston Martin, you've got to make sure that you've left a car's width and not turned in as and when you need to. But Basler now, he's not gone away, is he? He's 4/10 of a second back at this moment in time, although I suspect that might fall through the next sector. And the Aston Martin certainly very strong in the final sector, where it gets a little bit twisty on what I believe to be fresher tyres. Yeah, half a second back it still is at the moment, and Clayton there 4.6 seconds back, so is not a threat for the moment. Prentice there bringing himself back in. That is a risk on track limits. If you go slightly too wide there, you could be in trouble. Prentice there stretching his lead ahead of Adam Sharp. Sharp dropping off now, isn't he, from the lead, which is only fair, really, because it is airish, as Marklin Brush-Tully has pitted. So we're going to see exactly how well this strategy of not taking tyres and going as long as possible has gone, because Team Canada representative has pitted with less than 12 minutes to go. Adam Sharp, so he's left the pit so far, although he nearly does run himself into the wall. He's going to have a pretty straight run out. Adam Sharp, though, is going to have to go to the inside, but Adam Sharp does go to the inside, and he does take what is a net second place, third overall. Once that shakes out, don't believe what the graphic says, I promise you he's third. And as Airish there, goes up into second place, and Brush-Tully is out in third place. So a bit of a swap-swap-a-roo in terms of strategy from Zandvoort last time out, where Brush-Tully was the victim, and it's now Adam Sharp who is the winner this time around. Brush-Tully there, having held off so manfully last time out for second position, is perhaps going to have to be settling for third at best. He's got Luke Prentice now, who's started to catch Sharp. Never mind Brush-Tully in the Porsche. Luke Prentice now starting to catch the pair of them, so there could be a bit of a showdown for second place a little bit later on. Andrew Eden pits from the lead in the Lexus, so might he do something different, and might he get himself back into position, because he was only a second and a half thereabouts off of the back of Brush-Tully, and Luke Prentice is 3 seconds back, so he could do with getting Eden out of the way, as Basler still hasn't gone away, has he? The German in the Netherlands Ferrari is still battling for what is a top 5 finish. It is a genuine top 5 finish at this moment in time, because these two, the worst that they're going to do is fall backwards behind Eden. Eden's still in the pit in that Lexus. We've got a drive-through penalty for car 66. That is Giovanni Babazza on debut for Team France for not respecting track limits. Not really going to affect him as well, because he was quite far back off the back of David Farson for Team Belgium, with I think that rather curtailing Babazza's efforts. It's a difficult track to make your debut on anyway, but the Frenchman having a bit to do ahead of next time out. Andrew Eden, meanwhile, is out, and he's out just behind Marklin Brush-Tully, but he is out ahead of Luke Prentice. Now, Eden can almost smell a podium, because Andrew Sharp is up into second place, as you can see there, for Team England in the Honda, behind the immovable object that is Airish out in the lead. But Brush-Tully, third place ahead of Andrew Eden, as they're going to see any second now. But I don't think it's likely to stay that way if the Lexus can get a good exit off of the final corner before the Long Mistral straight. Luke Prentice there waiting in the wings to see if anything's going to go wrong between these two, with Basler still 0.9 seconds off the pace. Andrew Eden 0.7 of a second back at the moment from the Porsche, but if there's any car that you want to make that gap up, it's a Lexus. Gaining we are. He's going to pull to the inside, is he? Or is Brush-Tully going to hold on? Brush-Tully sticks it onto the inside. Eden goes around the outside. Now he's going to have to be left a bit of space. He goes around the outside there. Brush-Tully overturns, does he? Because Eden has a run down the inside. Doesn't quite make it there going into turn number 9. But I don't think this is over. And all this is doing is bringing an Aston Martin and a Ferrari into play, because the Lexus still refuses to be beaten. And Eden there for Team Switzerland. Been a good debut for Team Switzerland and Andrew Eden in this championship, but he has been a pretty solid campaigner in other series so far, so it's not a surprise. Driving clear for Babazza, that's the French representative at the back of the grid, as Brush-Tully there now might try and make good his escape, although it was 0.1 seconds going across the second sector line. It won't be an awful lot more than that. Well, it's 0.9 of a second, so actually it is a lot more than that. With Prentice there dropping back as to 1.9 seconds back, but he has at least escaped the Dutch team behind. Now, Adam Sharp has gone up waste. I would suggest he probably is safe from behind, because Brush-Tully hasn't looked particularly quick so far, although he does now appears to be starting to put a bit of a distance between himself and Eden. We'll see how that goes through the first sector, although Eden looking again quite good for the Lexus anyway, certainly through the first sector. Yeah, 3/4 of a second back. He's got to get a really good run here, see if he can outfox the Canadian. Certainly takes a bit of a tighter line. That'll help through the run through turn 7. Down the Mistral we go. Now we're going to have a look again at Andrew Eden, because I suspect that he'll be launching another attack on Marklin Bruchtulli. Bruchtulli might have to get his elbows out once again. He's done it once already. He'll have to do it plenty of times, I suspect, going down the straight. We gain. We are gaining, and we're going to have a look down the inside. I think Bruchtulli's going to have that covered this time around, although a half look there for Team Switzerland's Andrew Eden. But he is going to get a better run through turn number 8. Is he going to have another run down the inside? No, but if he holds it tight, he might then be able to surprise the Porsche. He doesn't hold it tight. The Porsche just about covers the mid-track, and through turn number 10 they go. Still nearly side by side, it must be said, but no further developments there, although they have caught Adam Sharp. Sharp's not exactly safe in that Honda. I was expecting the Honda to be able to have the legs on Bruchtulli, but Bruchtulli proving me wrong again. Bruchtulli now looking to see if he can relieve Sharp of second place for the second time in a row. Second week in a row it would be, although Andrew Eden's fancying second place now rather than third. Luke Prentice does appear to be dropped out just for the moment. Well, he has gained a second in the final sector, so the Aston Martin's still not out of it, with Basler now falling back from a 5th place. Still going to be a solid 6th place if he can hold on. Meanwhile, Andrew Tulloch fighting away with Gareth Harvey. They're separated by half a second, those two. A bit like conjoined twins, really, throughout most of this time. As Marcel Basler, oh no! He's got a drive-through penalty with 5 minutes to go. Track limits doing the damage there for Team Holland, and it's a long pit stop, a long pit lane, and he will be gutted with that, because it means that he's going to trundle down the pits, and he's going to go from 6th to about 16th if he's lucky for Team Holland, and that is disastrous for Marcel Basler. It was such a good return to the championship, and it has all gone off. Bruchtulli, meanwhile, in the slipstream of Adam Sharp, and that might actually do him a favour with regards to Mr. Eden, because Eden 1.3 seconds back and not in the slipstream. The Porsche is starting to have a look around the outside, not quite going to make it there. The Honda able to hold on for the moment, though he's not looking particularly comfortable. I wonder if his tyres have hit a cliff as well, because Bruchtulli now having a look down the inside. If he can keep it tight, as he does try to keep it tight, he won't make it there, but he did just about scare the Honda there just for the moment, as Sharp now having to fight a bit of a rear guard action. His pace was going the wrong way compared to Eresh, but to be honest, I thought that was Eresh rather than the Honda. The Honda proving time and again that its tyre life not the best around this tight, twisty, demanding track, especially with the track temperature. Well, it's cooled down actually. It was 30 in qualifying, 24 so far, as Bruchtulli now launching an attack forwards. We thought he was going to be looking backwards. Well, he's made a mug of us, as Basler now is going to have to come in and serve that drive through any second now. I think he is not quite there. He's got 2 laps to go, so he might just wait for time on that one, with Adam Sharp now certainly hoping that time runs out rather quickly, as Bruchtulli there makes a bit of a mess in the first couple of corners, it must be said. He might then put himself in danger. As regards to Andrew Eden, Eden now might be having a look for 3rd place once again. Re-engage at Team Switzerland, because you have a chance of a medal. Bruchtulli might just, well, he's caught up a little bit there going through the first sector after a previous issue. It's still a second, so it's not the end of the world, and it's 8/10 of a second behind 4th to 5th. So I think these are going to spread out just for the moment and concede on the last lap. We'll take a look at this point at the leader. There he is. It's Eresh, and he's in a white Ford Mustang. You might remember him from earlier. We haven't seen a lot of him because he's 20 seconds up the road. Eresh there going round to start what will be his penultimate lap when he gets there, which is bad news for Marcel Basler, because it means he will have to serve that drive through, as these 4 running line astern. 2nd Sharp, 3rd Bruchtulli, 4th Eden, and 5th Luke Prentice. England, Canada, Switzerland and New Zealand at war for the final podium positions, as Basler is unfortunately out of contention, so it's going to be a free position for Mozambique, Portugal and Team Scotland and Team Wales going up into the top 10 should things stay as they are. Now, Prentice having a look, is he, at the back of Andrew Eden for Team Switzerland. He is, you know, and I wager he might have a move down the inside into the final corner. It's certainly something you can do if you can get past the turbo lag in the Aston Martin. The Aston Martin goes wide as Eden defended a little bit of fresh air, but is the Aston Martin going to be able to capitalise on that? No, because Eden does get a good exit. Knowing the Lexus as we do, that's always a possibility, as Andrew Eden is now fourth position still, but he's still fighting for both third and fourth, depending on which attack he needs to fight next. So, Eden, 0.8 of a second. Do you fight forward? You might as well fight forwards. You might as well finish fifth rather than fourth if you end up going for third. So, Bristolli might not be, as he's now 1.1 seconds off the back of Adam Sharp, with, I would suspect, 2 laps to go, just depending where Erish is. He's going down the straight now. I suspect that might be, 2 laps left. So we'll have a look here, because the Aston Martin now all over the back of the Eden in the Lexus. Now, excuse me, the Aston is, he's in a position where you'd normally expect him to attack, but it is the Lexus that he's attacking. So don't bet on it yet, with Eden having a bit of a slipstream from the Porsche in front. I don't think Prentice is going to be able to make much of an impression on the Lexus ahead in the Aston Martin. So what can we see here? Yeah, it's 0.7, it's 0.3 seconds, but I don't think he's going to be able to get there unless he has a little bit of a run through the turn 8 corner. He certainly looks a little bit better. He's going to use one of his, Adam Sharp with seconds and with laps to go, and quite rightly he's pulling off because he's got to drive through. And Team England, disaster once again. He's run wide, slightly too wide, one too many times. And Team England, what was second place, what was a silver medal, is going to be, it's going to be P7 for Fiddler. So it's not lost in terms of Team England, as Erish comes across the line to finish the race. It was the last lap. Oh no, Bristolli meanwhile, is he going to hold on for second position? He is going to hold on for second position, but the Aston Martin, Luke Prentice, attacking the Lexus for third. Team Switzerland are going to make third position as Luke Prentice finishes fourth for Team New Zealand, as Marcel Basler surfs his drive through late. Michael Schumacher style Adam Sharp is in fifth position, 30 seconds added to his time, so that will drop him back we go. Mozambique sixth, with Josh Clayton ahead of Marcel Basler as he serves his penalty in seventh. Rafael Aruda is in eighth on the road for Portugal, but he'll be sixth overall, ahead of Andrew Tuller for Team Scotland, who managed to get past Paul Vidler. Paul Vidler there looking more than a little bit dog-eared at the back, more damage there, though some of that might be post-race, with Gareth Harvey in 11th for Wales. That'll be P9 by the time it all shakes out. Joachim Vereth is in 12th on the road for Team Ecuador, and in 13th for Angola. With a lively start, certainly something to keep him awake. Let's say Jamie Christie in the McLaren 141. Richard Serra is in 14th on the road, but he may salvage 12th place, just depending on how it all shakes out. For Team Monaco, ahead of Christian Keller, dropped to 15th. He was 10th earlier on, with Serafino Gabino. In 16th for Team Italy, which has been a pretty wretched run for Team Italy, it must be said, as Gordon Brown drops to 22nd after earlier shenanigans. Chris Getman for Team Uganda is 17th, ahead of Fernando Ferreira, for whom it's been another disastrous race for him. Certainly not what he can do in Portugal car. As we can see, Basler finished 16th, serving that penalty even still, and Adam Sharp was in 12th position. So we'll go through that again. Erish won for Team Germany, ahead of Michael Bristolli in the Canada Porsche, second place in a row, ahead of Andrew Eden in third for Team Switzerland on their debut in the championship. Luke Prentice was fourth for Team New Zealand, ahead of Josh Clayton in fifth, with Rafael Aruda in sixth for Team Portugal. Josh Clayton representing Mozambique as per. Andrew Tulloch is seventh for Team Scotland, ahead of England's Paul Vidler, who managed to save eighth place for Team England when it could have been so much on that last lap. Gareth Harvey is ninth for Wales, ahead of Joachim Vereth for Ecuador in 10th. Jamie Christie 11th, ahead of Adam Sharp in 12th for Team England, with Ritu Serra 13th and Christian Keller 14th. Serafino Gabino was 15th, ahead of Team Holland Marcel Basler, who shouldn't really have served that penalty, should just carried on for the line, see where he can go from there. Chris Getman was 17th for Uganda, ahead of Fernando Ferreira in 18th for Portugal, with Trevor Mendes 19th for Mozambique, ahead of Jack Barnett in 20th for Team New Zealand. A difficult debut season continues for the affable Brit driving for New Zealand. Darren Mark Davis was 21st for Team Wales, ahead of Gordon Brown for Team Italy. And Belgium were 23rd with David Fast, ahead of the debutant Gabriel Giovanni Barbatza. Well, it's nearly midnight in the UK, so I'm going to leave that there. Join me again next week when we go to, I think it's Imola, isn't it? So we're going to have another exciting, action-packed race on Thursday nights. Take care. Bye-bye.